Sweet. Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. We are ready to travel into the next level of the Book of Thomas and the process of healing. I think we're going to do kind of a review of the whole process today. But before we do that, is there anybody out there in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room? If you're on a station where we can't see you in our control panel, our call-in number is 563-999-3581. If you call that number, you're listening to the show directly. And then if you push 1, we'll be having a conversation. And I'd love to have a conversation with you. So, Miss Jeanie, do we have anything happening in the chat room?
It is all quiet on this end.
Okay. Well then, let's go over to the Book of Thomas. And we are up to saying 86. If you're new to the show, the Book of Thomas is one of the texts that was not canonized in the New Testament at the Council of Nicaea, the fellow who wanted to make war with the cross, good old Constantine. And so Thomas is a book that was written ostensibly by Thomas Didymus, and it is purported to be the secret sayings of Yeshua. So it goes through a series of 120 some odd sayings. We're up to 86 at this point, and there's just so much gold in these sayings. It's fabulous. And the 86, Yeshua says, the foxes have their holes, the birds have their nest, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head and rest. And in essence, what I'd offer he's saying here is that if, first of all, the basic belief that there's a physical world is a fraud. You know, let's listen to Einstein, and somebody might pretend they know better than Einstein, but Einstein says this: on such things as matter, we have been all wrong. What we have heretofore called matter is energy, energy whose vibrations have been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. So we don't live in a material world. However, our mind, the constructs of our perception show us what we call a material world. So we tend to think there is one. And what Yeshua is saying here is that what we call the physical world, which we think we look through our eyes at something out there, when in fact we're looking at a construct of our mind called perception. And anything that shows up in perception because it was in the database from which perception flows, which obviously means it was already existent. It's from the past. So anything that shows up in the perceptual mind, the constructs of the mind, is but a reflection of the past. And there's no future in the past. All there is replicating. Go download the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? It's about the replicate mind. And you can download that free. We can't sell you one, it's out of print, but you can download it free from whyagain.org/book. It's there in about 9 different languages. If you want a physical book, there are always books available used on eBay or Amazon. They both pretty much have them. Fortunately, back in the late 90s when we published that book, enough copies got out there that here we are almost a quarter of a century later, actually better than a quarter of a century later, and there's still lots of them hanging around on eBay and Amazon used for sale. So you can buy a physical book, usually $3, $4, $5. And it's about this replicate world, about how the mind can be corrected so that there's room for us to live in the actual world rather than the replicate world and the replicate mind, that reflection of the past. So he's saying that there's nowhere, if you're living in the physical world, you know, the foxes, the birds, the animals all have their place in the physical world, but the true being cannot find solace or upliftment in that world because it's just a reflection of the past. Now, you can get some support from someone who's done the journey, been there, done that, and assist you, but ultimately the true advancement, which would be what he's referring to here as rest, cannot be found there. So people look to physical life, they look to apparent wealth, they look to what they call strength, and pretending that strength is power. And ultimately, if you invest all of your time, intelligence, money, and energy in the so-called physical life, the wealth, the strength, there's no, the kid said a song a few years ago, I can't get no satisfaction. No satisfaction there. It can hold some possible support for the upliftment from those who've been there and done that and are willing to reach a hand out and offer support. But that world has no place to go. Son of Man referring to the being that we are. And then he takes it like a quantum leap to the next level. He said, wretched is the body. Now, sadly, there have been interpretations that make the body the problem. One of the things I write about in my book is how the culture has this sex is dirty, save it for the one you love. Boy, talk about a conflict of interest. You listen to the Creator in the Scriptures, and the Creator just blows that whole silly conversation away about sex. The Creator says, who told you were naked? Like, what's that got to do with anything? So Yeshua here says, wretched is the body, which depends upon the body, and wretched is the soul, which depends on these two. In other words, all you'll find there is you're lost in the past. If you take your body into a chemist shop and say, please tell me what elements this thing is made of, they'll tell you that the primary element is carbon. Carbon atom made of 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 666. It's a storage device for the past. And everything from the past, which is not alive, that comes up and conflicts with the mind of the present, which was called the mind of Christ, now you've got the Antichrist, perception. And if we lie on perception, then what he's saying here is that you're relying on death. And we want to give up reliance on death. It's not gonna, when the one young man said, he's going to rely on that, Yeshua said, let the dead bury the dead. Let the blind lead the blind. You're not going to find it here. Give it up. And so we step into a whole body of work that assists us in extracting from all the belief systems, all the BS of the world, and getting back to the truth of who we are. Now, what you're looking for cannot be known. It can only be experienced. We're looking to give people, we're offering tools with which you can experience the truth. What we call looking, we think we see something outside of us through our eyes, but what we're really looking at is pictures painted on the inside of our eyeballs and pretending that we're seeing something outside of us. And Yeshua says of that self, he says, in order for you being to live, essential nature being to live, you've got to die. That self based in the body and in the world has to go. Because that self exists only as a projected image from the mind. And if you live in that construct of the mind renders the understanding, the possibilities, and direct experience of life impossible. We'll just keep, it's kind of like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic if you're playing in that realm. Actual healing is about the recognition that what you're looking for is what is looking. And it can only be experienced. What it is you're really wanting can only be experienced by learning to look through the senses not of the mind, not of the body, not of the world, but through the sense of the self that is, the true being. So ultimately, you got to be out of your mind. And I sort of say that tongue-in-cheek, but I'm really not saying it tongue-in-cheek. Powerful quote from Carl Jung. He says, as understanding deepens, the further removed it becomes from knowledge. The mind wants to know. And true understanding is beyond the knowing mind. So the trick is, and if you look at Yeshua's forgiveness work, the trick is to be out of your mind, and that's what forgiveness does. It shows you how to do that. But as long as you're in your mind, then you're going to meet whatever's there. Whatever generational patterns are there that have not been removed, they're going to run your life. And you're going to think that circumstances are upsetting because circumstances resonate something in that carbon-based memory system that's painful that you haven't resolved yet. And you look at the picture painted on the inside of your eyeballs and you go, look, see what they're doing to me. But what's happening in you is happening in you. It's not being done to you. It's happening in you. Now, I'm saying words, so now we're attempting to teach the mind how to think about this. But the truth cannot be known through the mind. You have to go to the direct experience. So the idea is not to try to tell you what the truth is, but to give you the tools, which if you use them, you will come to the experience of truth. It doesn't come from the body. Then once experienced, the mind will take it and make a feeble attempt to explain the experience. And the reason the attempt will be feeble is because the experience of your human life, the experience of being, is so enormous, so profound, that the mind can't even entertain it, let alone comprehend it or even conceive of it. The ancient scripture said, the eye hath not seen, nor the ear heard, nor has it entered into the heart of man. This thing called life has to be directly experienced, and it can't be experienced through your mind. Information about it can be experienced through your mind, and you can pretend that the information is the experience, and it's not. The best definition I've found of life is that life is love flowing through a cell. Anything you do to inhibit that destroys life. And the primary things that people do to inhibit that are hostility, fear, rage, guilt, grief, drama, and trauma. So life is love flowing through a cell, and trying to explain the magnificence of life with the mind instead of living in the experience, trying to figure it out is like trying to put an 8-foot 2x4 in the 8-inch space between your ears. It doesn't go there. It's like trying to put the universe into a walnut. The mind must be laid aside for the experience to unfold. And first century Aramaic forgiveness shows precisely how to put the mind aside so that correction, which only love can do, in your form, can happen. That's the work of healing and transformation. The space between your ears, the walnut, it's just a container. And it's a container that's tainted, it's diseased for most, by many forms of fear, hostility, blame, rage, guilt, grief, drama, and trauma. Childhood mistreatment, generational and cultural pain, and assaults, grief, rage, hatred, self-deprecation, deprecation of others, confusion, and vengeance, existent and unresolved in the mind, in the nervous system, and the bodies of most people renders them unconscious. Conscious. You do that by removing what's in the container that blocks the experience of self as love, first and foremost. If you're not experiencing yourself as love, you're not experiencing yourself. You're experiencing a construct in your mind that's based in the power person dynamics of your life, and is probably a very committed, card-carrying member, very religious, very devout member of the one world universal religion of blame, fault, suffering, and victimhood. So, presence of love will correct what's in the walnut, in the container that covers over the experience. And when you, as you do that process, you show up to greater and greater degrees. You show up as the experience in your life. Mind is looking for the correction. But when the false you, the one that Yeshua said had to die in order for you to live, gets the heck out of the way, then you experience the fact that you are the correction. And when you live from that correction, which is the act of being the presence of love that you are, fulfillment simply becomes automatic. That's what we're here to support. Every mind, heart, and being in the world having access to and understanding. In the 13th century, a poet named Rumi wrote so powerfully, "Love is the cure. Your pain will give birth to more till your eyes exhale love as effortlessly as your body yields its scent." 8 centuries ago, love is the cure. Your pain will give birth to more pain until your eyes exhale love as effortlessly as your body yields its scent. So if you're feeling frustrated, angry, annoyed, lonely, an aversion to something, responding out of your wounds, if you're blaming others, if you're blaming yourself, if you're unable to hold to the mind of love in you, all of that, as opposed to an opportunity to blame somebody, which if you're blaming somebody simply means you're a member of that one world religion, in truth, it's always an opportunity for me to heal the pain constructs of my own mind, body, and nervous system. When you get a chance, or when the show is over, jump on YouTube, or whatever your music service is, and put the title Madness and the artist's name, Alanis Morissette. She's got an awesome song. The madness in me moves in the presence of you. And I realize that it survives when you're not in the room. Bingo! There's the waking up. Powerful song. Alanis Morissette, Madness. So sadly, when I hold unresolved pain or trauma within, it's easy to put the underlying energies of that dissociated trauma. Dissociated means that I blame somebody else for it, into my brain's internally constructed perceptual images of somebody else. And then, now that I have this picture in my mind painted on the inside of my eyeballs, and I think I'm looking at them out there, I can really believe that they're the cause. And this way, my mind's trauma or pain-based interpretation of events, obviously it's true, and that leads directly away from understanding what's really going on. Many, if not all of our wounds, and therefore our pain, are rooted in genetically inherited traumas. multi-generational assaults reinforced through unconscious actions, generation after generation, stored and repeated ad nauseum. Each pained perception, each construct of the mind appears. Appears to be different. They're all the same. All that happens is, once I live in denial, once I say, you did this to me, then my mind makes up a picture, and this picture is different from the last one. Well, yeah, if I look at it, the underlying pain is the same, but the picture's different, so it must be different, and it's caused by somebody else. But all painful constructs of the mind all based on that hidden, dissociated trauma that, when activated, obscures the subtle, permanently available experience of ourselves as our true nature, love. Never imposed from the outside, blocks to the awareness of ourselves as love are internal and removable, if you have the technology to do so. All healing, to return to love, is a strictly inside job. Well, let's say hello, sweetie. Awesome.
It is Captain Bob from Australia. Welcome.
Welcome, good
good
sir.
morning,
How do you be?
family.
Good morning.
Well, it's almost 4:30. I just been listening to what you've been sharing, and it just resonates so strongly with me. One, personal responsibility, and for me, I live in a feeling universe, not a thinking universe. And for me, I experience this life through my senses, my feelings. I feel the warmth of the sun on my body. I hear the raucous laughter of the kookaburras in the morning. I smell the sweet tang of the rotting mangoes. So for me, Descartes was wrong. It's not I think, therefore I am. For me, it's I feel, therefore I am. And for me, it's a lovely perspective. As far as my prostate cancer, well, yeah, I had to go out of my mind to come to my senses, literally.
Mm-hmm. That's a great way to say it. There's a song title in that.
Oh, yeah. Well, for me, one of the memes from one of my books is, my mind is just a tool that I use when I choose, for I am so much more than my mind. And the other one I like, I don't know whether these come through me, so I'm just channeling them, is thinking is the weapon of mass distraction, because while people are thinking, they're not feeling. So, yeah. And my prostate journey, a couple of weeks ago, I had a bit of a relapse, but it was my own fault. I was feeling so blissful for about 3 or 4 days in a row, like I stopped all my treatments and went to bought a McDonald's and had one beer, and then a couple of days later I was in so much pain. It was like
you paid for it. Ouch.
Yeah. And the one thing that I'd stopped from my regime, the only thing that I'd stopped really doing, was taking my baking soda. And so after 3 or 4 days of pain, I just thought, well, it can't be that simple, can it? So I just took
that pH.
I took 2 doses of half a teaspoon of baking soda, and within about 5 or 6 hours, I was back to bliss again. It was an amazing transformation. Yeah. And every day I go in my little paddling pool, and that's dosed with calcium hypochlorite, which is MMS2, and it's like I'm immersing the biggest organ in my body, which is my skin, and I just do that because I love. Yeah, I just do that because I love to do it. But anyway, so yeah, I'm back on track, and I'm going to see my Western medical doctor in about 5 or 6 hours, just to watch his eyebrows raise, because he reckons I should be screaming and wriggling on the floor in pain and agony. Yeah.
Well, nice work.
Thanks for being there, and yeah, thanks. Yeah, and well, I come to the conclusion that I was seeing an osteopath because of the pain, and they could fix it, but it was only momentarily. 5 or 6 hours later, the misalignment would pop, my sacrum would pop out of alignment or something anyway. And all I know is the pain came back. So I'm a bit of a slow learner, so it took me about 8 visits to realize that there is something within me that's causing this pressure, that's causing this pain. And so I really went back and hit my remedies harder. And if it is my enlarged prostate, then I will find what will shrink it for me. But I think my chlorine dioxide process is working very well, but slowly, and that's okay with me. So thanks for letting me share, and yeah, it's always comforting to know you guys are here, and much love.
Well, holding this
great
space.
Christmas if I didn't speak to you before.
Yeah, holding the space and extending love in your direction. And, we just went through Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is a huge thing here. And so we join you in Thanksgiving for the healing modalities that you are guided to and that you use, and for the shocked face that your Western medical doctor is going to have when you visit him in a few hours.
Oh, some great news. I've just started a weekly video broadcast with Cosmic Guardians, and it's called the the Spiritual Mechanics Show. And it's, if anybody wants to look it up and come along, for me it's Saturday morning at 7 o'clock, and we just discuss topics of personal growth, natural healing, and a bit of philosophy, because I like philosophy. So that's my shameless self-promotion over and done with.
Cool. Well, maybe invite us to come on with you at some point. Have a conversation.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. I'll ask Anne how to do that. She's the co-host, and she's the sort of techno wizard. I'm just a storyteller.
Right.
That'd
All
be
right.
great.
Well, holding the space for the absolute best year yet of your eternal life coming up.
Yes, it is.
Yay. All right, my friend. Well, holding you in our hearts. Appreciate your reports. All right. Well, Miss Jeanie, do we have anybody else in the phone queue with a hand up for anything happening in the chat room?
It's quiet.
So we're, the focal point, or our last thought was that it's all an inside job. And that our traumas are, short of somebody punching you in the nose, and those things happen, and even those things can only come to us because there's some sort of resonance that brings it, but otherwise, these things are not imposed. These traumas and dramas that most people live in are simply the replication of frequencies in the mind from the past. And the blocks to the awareness of ourselves as love are internal, and therefore removable if you've got the technology to do so. And literally all healing is an inside job that requires one to uncover who they are as love and allow that energy of love to flow through their cellular structures. Again, that's life. Now, when information is flowing internally in the system, but we're in denial, believing something outside is the cause, and our perceptions, pictures come up in our minds, and we believe that the pictures are pictures of something out there. The truth is, all the pictures that show up in the mind are autobiographical. They're written on the mind by the content of the mind. And so the constructs of our minds tell us, first and foremost, what's going on inside of us. And until generational traumas are removed, we can be very easily tricked into believing the false pictures and perceptions generated by our minds that the problem's outside of us. If we believe that the problem's outside of us, we're in trouble. As long as we believe that something outside of us is the cause rather than just the trigger of what's moving within, we literally inhabit a world of lies. Feelings do not come from seeing something, they come from internally generated energies, and those energies are all self-imposed. So blamers would do well to understand denial, and denial is the act of thinking or speaking as though something outside of oneself is the cause of what's moving inside. Now, the act of denial. The mind is a purely evidential device, and the act of denial results in instant dissociation, the hiding of the truth, which blocks awareness of one's own internal dynamics and results in a natural condition called an unconscious mind. When I tell my mind that you're the problem in my life, and the problem that's going on is inside of my own physiology, there's something in my physiology that I'm hiding from myself in order to believe that you're the problem. And by doing that, we create this unconscious mind. Jung described the source of this unconsciousness and the seemingly unavoidable repeating patterns of painful experiences. He explains this recurring trauma, and until it's resolved by the action of changing the old familial habits of mind, they're always just under the surface, ready to distort our experience of both ourselves and life. And he says this: whatever is rejected from the self appears, through blame, of course, in the world, called perception, as an event. We meet ourselves, and that is in our projections on others, time and again, in 1,000 disguises on the path of life. He goes on to say, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. Everything that appears to irritate us about others can lead to understanding oneself. What a monumental insight. Carl Jung, way back. It's time for us individually and collectively to put an end to the multi-generational fantasy of victimhood that we mistakenly believe is true. If you've been through a particular painful reality 87 times with 42 different people, it's time to recognize that you're the only one that was there every time it happened. Go back, if you've got a copy of the Healing Through Relationships workshop, and do the 3 early memories exercise. It's a shocker for people. And the echo of this act of denial sounds like, you make me so mad, you make me so sad, you make me so afraid, you hurt me. And when invited to look, most people turn tail and run the other way. The very things people don't want to look at or deal with are the things that are most urgent to be looked at and dealt with. And rest assured, life will give you every opportunity you need because you're unconsciously directing the show. And life's purpose, when we dissociate from pain, is to kick us right square in the limitation. How do we make the unconscious conscious? Tools for reliably opening what in the ancient teachings was called the veil of the temple being the body, beneath which we keep our pain hidden, the barrier between the subconscious and the unconscious mind, and removal of assault energy. The tools for that appeared 2,000 years ago in the Aramaic language. This ancient tool, forgiveness, is a process that collapses and uncovers and removes whatever it is that we've hidden through denial within ourselves. The fake Greek substitute, pardoning, changed forgiveness from an internal process to an outer directed act. Forgive, let them off the hook, we're told. And with that errant directive, the simple, effective healing technology of forgiveness was lost to humanity. In the Greek misinterpretation, we're convinced we need to be forgiven for something, rather than there is something to be forgiven that is removed from our own minds. You will never be forgiven for anything. The energetic patterns that cause your pain can be removed if you apply the tools. Now, this slippery twist has left millions of people letting other people off the hook for what's generated by their own minds again and again and again, rather than taking responsibility. When you take responsibility, you have the opportunity to remove from your mind, forgive from your mind, the projected and hidden, often generational content within yourself. So letting someone else outside of us off the hook for what's going on inside of us will never rid us of our experience of internally generated hurt, upset, or pain. It will only reinforce the energy that covers over. It blocks the awareness of who we are. Outer directed acts do not bring correction to internally generated dynamics. Engaging in actual forgiveness creates a visceral opening that facilitates the flow of love and light into every instant, every experience of our lives, and our physiology. Alone or lonely, afraid or sad, rageful, hateful, through forgiveness, the space is created for love to flow into that clean and open space within your mind. And the transmutation, the removal of the energy of pain, happens in that instant of actual forgiveness. And you'll notice that unless you're just a generally miserable person, you're pretty happy with everybody and everything they do, as long as they're fulfilling the goals you hold for them. And you'll notice the moment where love turns to frustration, anger, and upset is when someone isn't following your directives. Someone is not fulfilling the goals you hold for them. lived pain or turmoil is always an invitation to end denial, to learn and apply forgiveness, period. Now, again, you can go to whyagain.org/book and download the book. Why is this happening to me again? There's a deeper explanation there. The worksheet's there. If you go to your app store on your phone and type in the words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness, you'll find the world's only forgiveness app. There are lots of apps out there that will call themselves forgiveness. I've looked at many of them. There is no forgiveness in any of them that I've found. There's Greek pardoning. There's this thing about, oh, I'll let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. But there's nowhere else I know that you will find an app that will show you how to collapse the perceptual constructs of your mind and drop into the part of your mind where your denial has hidden what needs to be healed, and shows you how to bring those things forward. So again, perception, the world we think we see with our eyes, is an hologram generated out of past content stored in carbon-based memory, what we call the mind. It's a projection of the mind of man in us. And past content, when we live in denial, is massaged to look like a current picture of them, whoever the current them is. And you'll notice the ego can change enemies, just like a little kid can change dirty socks. Past content massaged to look like a current picture of them, who my multi-generational database has been suckered to believe I am. I then show up as this picture, and each image is a total fabrication reflecting only the past. Neither fabrication, who I think they are, who I think I am, contains anything true in the actual present. And the reason why they call the present is because whenever you breathe and you go there, there's a gift, there's a present. We see nothing with our eyes, we see with our brains. Take that understanding to another level, go to YouTube, click into YouTube University and type in Anil, A-N-I-L, Seth, S-E-T-H, and look at his TED Talk. In that talk, he says this, as a neuroscientist, perception is a mental construct generated by the mind-body nervous system. Of course, if it's generated from that, by definition, it's from the past. That's my addition to his quote. He then says, the whole world we think we see is an hallucination unique to each person. When we agree on our shared hallucinations, we call it reality. Oh, caution here, reality is nothing but the output of the mind. We're not designed to live in realities, we're designed to live in actuality, not a series of realities generated out of the past. If you do that, you live the title of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? The CIA backed it up. They wrote a book on human intelligence. Here's what the CIA said, and I don't know how many millions of dollars they probably spent on doing this research and writing this book. You can download it from our website. Quote, perception is demonstrably an active rather than a passive process. It constructs rather than records reality. People construct their own version of reality. So our minds, based on content resonated by experiences, literally constructs the world that's painted on the inside of our eyeballs, the world that we say we see. And that world reflected on the inside of our eyeballs is an energy literally stored in the cells of our bodies. where there are diseased cells, it is because there is dis-ease energy in that cell. There is an energy other than love that doesn't belong there. And to free oneself of the disease means you must access and remove the stored energy that blocks the flow of love through the structure. So reality or perception, the output of the mind, is either a high-quality, accurate picture that can lead us to the direct experience of actuality, which is often unexplainable in words, or it's a poor-quality, deceptive projection. The experience of the presence of love in one's physiology indicates the mind is on track. Any form of fear and or hostility is an indicator that the mind is using corrupt data from its past content to build its projections rather than reflecting accurate information about actuality. When using corrupt data, the mind massages its unconscious. How can you tell if there's corrupt data moving in you? There are flags. The system's set up to warn you. Any form of hostility or fear is telling you that corrupt data is moving in your mind. So when you use corrupt data to build your reality, the construct of your mind, your perception, the mind has massaged that unconscious content into pictures that appear to be of external things, but are nothing but replays of old, usually unresolved generational dynamics made to look like, in my mind, made to look like me and them. So once again, all perception, the world made by us, including sensations, and the meanings given to those sensations in the body are autobiographical. Now, projection is not the act of pretending something inside of us is outside of us. It's the activity of building realities out of resonated internal content and pretending that the hologram produced as a result of that image is actually out there rather than painted on the inside of our eyeballs. There is no life in any hologram generated out of the past. There is no truth in any hologram presented by the mind, no matter how convincing it looks. There is no truth in it. And if you get lost in it, then you're one of those that Yeshua described as the dead, buried by the dead, and the blind led by the blind. When I tell you that you're the cause of what's happening inside of me, I become the equivalent of a full-fledged, card-carrying member of the one-world universal religion of blame, guilt, fault, and shame. And victimhood. At church. Time to give it up. If you want some deeper guidance, there are a couple of videos I'd suggest you go to on our YouTube channel. If you simply go to YouTube, in the search bar, type in Michael Ryce. You'll be on our YouTube channel. It's MICHAELRYCE. And there's a fairly quick video, I think it's 32 minutes. What is the world? That will give you a synopsis, visual, I use a 4x8 whiteboard. It'll give you a visual synopsis of what we've just been talking about, and then goes into exactly how this world of perceptual constructs is created, how to collapse it, and how to free yourself of it. So look for the title, do a search in our YouTube channel for What is the World? And then that'll take about a half an hour to watch. That'll lay a foundation. That'll give you a short overall picture. And then for a bigger picture, for a more detailed overview, then search in our YouTube channel again for Why Is This Happening to Me Again? That's a workshop up until I did this one about 2 years ago that was only available as a paid CD or DVD or streaming download, but now it's on the YouTube channel free. Why is this happening to me again? And if you want to put the app to use, go to your app store, type in Heartland, Heartland, one word, Aramaic, Aramaic, forgiveness. You'll see a red glowing heart come up. That's our app. Download it, put it to work. If you go to the microphone on our homepage, you can drill down there, and there are over 5,000 hours of this radio show where we've addressed every kind of issue, conversations with every kind of person you can imagine. And that's all free on the website. And so I think we're probably down to about 2 minutes, Jeanie. Any quick questions? Anything happening in the chat room?
Actually, the chat room went down just a few minutes ago, and I've been trying to reboot it, but I can't get back up. And we are down to 3 minutes. We have a couple new people on the switchboard. If somebody has a question, press 1.
It'd be a quick one, but we could do it. Otherwise, how about we all just get quiet, close your eyes, if you would, for a moment, unless you're driving, of course, or operating some kind of machinery where you better keep your eyes open. Allow yourself to just take a moment and close your eyes. And take a deep breath. Let everything in your physiology soften. Everything has been resonated in the last 2 hours. Allow yourself to breathe into it. And as you breathe into it, allow yourself to tap into whatever it is in your life that gives you the deepest, most powerful, direct experience of love. Might be your image of a child, a newborn, your favorite cat or dog or bird, or it might be a scene sitting on a mountaintop or by a river. Rather than something that taps you into activity, bring forward an image that taps you into the active presence of love. And allow yourself to intensify that experience in your physiology. And notice that no matter how you've acted out, no matter what kind of stuff has happened in your life, the truth about you is that you are the conscious active presence of love. And we hold the space for you to be in that experience for all of eternity. And invite you to create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. Blessings. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.